The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping on the 2024-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your favorite team, and place your first bet. For example, Tuesday, October 8th is opening night for the NHL. The St. Louis Blues play the Seattle Kraken, the Bruins play the Panthers, and the Blackhawks play the Utah Hockey Club. If you want to bet on a game, it's simple. Choose from various puck lines for various games. Or you can choose a player to score or a goalie to make a certain number of saves during the game. Puck lines can include a plus 120 money line for the St. Louis Blues against the Seattle Kraken, or you can choose the Kraken, which the money line is set at negative 142. For the Bruins, that money line is set at plus 136. The Panthers is set at minus 162. But please remember this. Lines and odds are subject to change. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to episode 103 of the Tundra Cast. Today is just Nick.
Hello.
Nick and myself today going over our annual season predictions. The season starts up in 2 days on October the 8th. It was a pretty fun off season for a lot of teams. A lot of new faces and new places. A lot of interesting storylines to happen this upcoming year. So, let's just get right into it. I have nothing really else to say. We'll start off in the Metro. Who is? You know what? Usually we start at 8th place. Let's do the opposite. Let's start at 1st place. So
you want to start from the top? That makes sense. We can start from the top.
So who's your 1st place team?
Well, my team in the top is the same as the hot takes video. The hot takes, I had New Jersey at the top, and I'm going to stick with that. I just like New Jersey's team. I mean, they technically already played the first 2 games of the regular season. They beat the Sabres twice, and it's just the Sabres, but they look like a really good team. Their lineup is really solid. Markstrom is like a genuinely more consistent goaltender as we've seen in the past, and he made that amazing save during the game. It's going to be one of the saves of the season already, right? So I just think down their lineup, I think, like I said in the hot takes, they could use maybe like a third line center if all goes well, but I mean, their depth looks really good. Paul Cotter is the leading scorer in the NHL right now. Like, they got him from Vegas, so they look really good. I like their chances of potentially finishing at the top. I think it'll be close by the end of it because Metro is just a very tough division. But I like the Devils team a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I thought last year that they were one of the contenders in the East. Obviously, goaltending let them down. You mentioned Jacob Markstrom, obviously making that big save. He should be good for 50 to 60 starts. I think the big thing is if Jack Hughes is healthy. He tends to kind of get hurt a lot now.
Yeah.
But when healthy, he's easy a 90 to 100 point guy. And yeah, I agree with your ranking. I think New Jersey's going to finish first in the Metro if everything goes to plan. They also have a new coach in Sheldon Keefe, who is miles better than Lindy Ruff, who is not having a great start to the season with the Sabres. But yeah, I think New Jersey, even on the back end, you got, Dougie Hamilton, Luke Hughes, Nemec, Pesci, Kovacevic, Siegenthaler, Seamus Casey has looked really good to start the year. Brendan Dillon. They got such a deep, deep team. I would be shocked if they finish anywhere lower than second, honestly.
Yeah, I think Casey's going to be a star too. I liked him at Michigan quite a bit, and he's jumped into the Devils team and he scored the other night. So, that decor is looking real solid. Like I said, their team in general is just looking real solid, especially now they have Mercer signed up now. He wasn't signed when we recorded the hot takes, but he's back in the top 6 now, and that's a good team moving forward
for sure. Second place, I got a team that I went on a huge rant on last year, and I was proven right. By the way, the Rangers just aren't good. I'm sorry.
They're not. No, I refuse to believe they're good, but I also have them second. If you have them second,
I had them second. I had them second.
I also have the same.
It's just, Igor Shesterkin is just incredible. I like Adam Fox. I like Keandre Miller. Their forward core is okay. I hope Lafreniere breaks out this year because he had an unreal playoffs.
And it seems like he will.
Yeah. Panarin is going to get 100 points. It's just I don't know. There's just something about that team. They're frauds to me. They can't really play well 5v5. They really rely on their power play too much. I've made this comparison over and over again. I just think they're like the 1920 Oilers with an elite goalie. Their forward depth isn't great. You would like to see a bit more development, from Will Cooley. That fourth line that has VC, Rempe, and Sam Carrick might be one of the worst fourth lines in the league. They can't play hockey, right? So, I don't know. I just think they're primed for another first-round exit, but they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see. They'll go as far as Shesterkin will take them, like you said. So, and their power play, power play is just overpowered. So,
third. Who do you have third in the Metro?
Okay, so this is where things get a little bit spicy for me. Maybe not spicy, but just it gets a little weird because I think the distance between third and seventh is just minuscule. Third right now have the Islanders.
Oh, okay.
And the thing with the Islanders is that again they're just kind of a solid team. They have a lot of contracts built up, and they just sent Engvall down. We'll see, but adding Anthony Duclair, I think it was one of their only signings, if not their only signing.
Yeah.
But I think they're a team as long as Sorokin can stay healthy and can get back to the way he was. Kind of the same thing with Shesterkin. Sorokin's an unreal goalie, and they'll just kind of go as far as where Sorokin will take him. I think Duclair is a very underrated signing. With that being said, I think he adds a bit of scoring down the wing for the Islanders. They have a decent center core as it is. It just seems like no matter how old the Islanders are, they just always kind of stay in a similar spot. They didn't make the playoffs last year, but I think the teams around them didn't really improve a whole lot. So I think that'll work to their benefit. And screw it. Let's put them third.
All right. Well, I got the Canes third. Carolina did lose a lot this offseason. They lost Gensel, they lost Teuvo Teravainen, they lost Brett Pesci. They lost more than that. I can't think off the top of my head, but they did lose a lot of pieces. I'm high on guys like Jackson Blake to make an impact. Who's the defenseman? They got Scott Morrow, that's his name. Bradley Nadeau. Right. They got Bradley Nadeau, right? And it's definitely one of their weaker teams in previous years, but I do think the bulk of the core is still good enough to get them there. Sebastian Aho, in my opinion, is the new underrated player of the NHL. It used to be Barkov, but I think people realize how good Barkov is now that he has won the cup. I think Aho is severely underrated. Seth Jarvis is a hell of a player. Marty Necas, if he's consistent, he's unreal. Svechnikov needs to stay healthy, but he's still good for 30 goals a year. That defense is still pretty good too. Slavin is unreal. Brent Burns is still producing. Orlov's good, and it's still a solid team. But their best chance to win was last year, and they didn't win. So it's gonna be a pretty big step back year. It's gonna be a transitional year for Carolina. So that's why I have them third in the division.
Yeah, so I'll just continue on, I guess, with Carolina because I'm fourth in
Okay.
the division, so wild card. But kind of the same thing that you said, just a bit of a transitional period for them. I think they, like you said, and I said this a couple times in the pod already, but last year was really their year to win, I think, and they fell short again. But I think they'll be good again in a couple years from now. I think they'll probably be around the position for like this season, maybe next season, depending on what happens. But they have a lot of prospects coming up. We even saw in the Gensel trade, they were perfectly fine with giving up, three of their prospects, and they're not even their best prospects on their team, right? So I think they'll be just fine moving forward. But I think this season, like you said, it's going to be a bit more down than it has in previous years. So, but you're right, they still have their core. Like Sebastian Aho is still young enough, and he's a great player. And Seth Jarvis, put up the goals that he did and the points that he did. And Sveshnikov, if he can stay healthy, is great. I don't know how I feel about Kotkaniemi playing in the top six. We'll see how that goes, um, but yeah, I mean, Natchez is still there as well. Their decor, like you said, is still pretty solid. So we'll see with Carolina, but I think for them it'll be a wild card.
And making a wild card for me in the Metro, I think a team being slept on. It's the Washington Capitals.
Mm-hmm.
They made it in last year, albeit they were. I don't know how they made it in. They had like a negative 35 goal differential, but
Yeah.
I mean, like, I love the ads that they made. Andrew Mangiapane is a solid middle six winger. I know he gets crapped on a lot, but like Pierre-Luc Dubois, like, it just didn't go well in LA, and he will be better in Washington. Will he be like
I
eight point
surely
five?
hope so.
I don't think he'll be 8.5 million good, but I think he'll
No.
still be like a solid second line center there. Um, Back end they added Jacob Chikrin and Matt Roy. Like that's a solid decor when you also factor in John Carlson, Trevor Van Riemsdyk and Martin Ferravari and Rasmus Sandin. It's a good decor. And they upgraded in goaltending too. Lindgren was great last year, and they added Logan Thompson. So that's a solid
Mm-hmm.
tandem. I like the depth moves and Brandon Duhaime and Taylor Radish. Hendrix Lapierre and Connor McMichael are going to get more ice time. Ivan Miroshnichenko will also get more ice time. And no, I just really like the makeup of their team. I think Spencer Carberry is a good coach as well. And yeah, I just see them making the playoffs again as a wild card team. It's a better team than last year, and if that team can make it in, I think this team can certainly make it in. Don't have them going far though. I think they're probably a first round exit, but I don't know. I really like their team. It's a good team.
Yeah, I don't mind their team either. I almost had them in the playoffs. I have them fifth. So
Okay.
I see the little staircase that's going on here right now. But no, I think they could honestly sneak in. Like if the Islanders end up not making the Hurricanes, if they end up doing like really bad, then I think the Capitals could sneak in. And for pretty much the reasons you just said, I mean, they definitely had a good offseason. My hot take of Dubois, we'll see if that runs true. I really hope it does, but we'll see. I think Ovechkin breaks the goal record this year.
100%, yeah.
But like their decor is really good now. Like they acquired Chikrin at like a low buy option, and they got Matt Roy, and they still have guys like Sandin. I mean John Carlson, if he can stay healthy, he's not slowing down either. And yeah, their goaltending's not too bad. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Fifth place, I do have the Islanders. I've just never really been high on them year in and year out. I just don't think they can score, and I think they're just too old at this point. Their young
That's
guys
fair.
really haven't made that big of a push. I mean, Simon Holmstrom has kind of stagnated. Oliver Wallstrom just needs a change of scenery. Like
Yeah,
Patrick
100%.
Watt hates him. Their backhand's fine. Like Ryan Pulak's still good. Adam Pelk kind of took a step back. Noah Dobson's a stud, obviously. But besides that, like Romanov's okay. Mayfield's okay. The biggest wild card is goaltending. Like Sorokin wasn't great last year, but he was the best goalie in the league the year prior. Varlamov was really good last year, but he's also 36 years old. How long can he continue that
Mm-hmm.
performance? So, like, it's just a lot of wild cards with the Islanders. Can they score enough? Can some of their younger players rebound? Can Sorokin rebound? Um, is Patrick Waugh the right coach for this team? Because When he was hired, they did go on a heater, but that happens a lot of times when a new coach comes in. So it's just a lot of question marks for the Islanders for me. And even if they make the playoffs, like, they're gonna be a first round exit. Like, I don't know. I'm not too high on them. They're probably like a 90-point team. Maybe they miss out by like 2 or 3 points, but I just think there's too many question marks.
No, that's fair. I mean, like I said, part of the reason I had the Islanders third was because the division is just kind of a tough division. Just because there's a lot of teams like that, right? There's a lot of like
Yeah.
middling teams, not quite contenders yet. Really, the Devils and the Rangers are the only ones that are that division for me. So, um, considering on number 6, I wanted to put this team higher. I just didn't really have any room for them because I do think they have a better chance to make the playoffs than they did last year. That's Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Um, the big thing for me is just their defense. It wasn't great last year, apart from obviously Eric Carlson, Chris Letang doing what they do as per usual. But like Ryan Graves was bad. They've tried to improve it. Like they had a Matt Grizzlick, which might turn out to be okay, but he was scratched for the playoffs for Boston. I think he was on Boston last year,
Yeah.
right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was like healthy scratch, and that was a decor that was already missing bodies. So, I mean, we'll see if Tristan Jarry can maybe become a bit more consistent, then we'll have to maybe they have a better chance at the back end from there to maybe bail out the defense. But they did bring up Joel Blomqvist. Nedeljkovic is on IR, so he'll probably be backing it up, and he's a pretty solid young goaltender from what I've seen. So their depth, they definitely try to improve it. Cody Glass. Well, it's going to be tough because yeah, it's just going to be tough. I don't even really have a reason for it, but yeah, I want to see them make the playoffs because, like I said, I think they have a better chance to do so this year than last year. But it's hard. And also, Harrison Brunicky might be starting the season with us. It
I
looks
saw
like
that,
it.
yeah.
We just put Sebastian Aho on waivers, which suggests to me that they might be thinking of starting him. It's either him or Jack St. Ivan, one of the two. So we'll see. But that back end is it's a little rough, and Brian Rust is hurt too. So.
Well, I have the Penguins 6-2. I agree with everything you said. I kind of question the depth of the Penguins as well. Like,
Yeah.
their bottom 6 wasn't great last year. I think their best player might have been Lars Eller, if I remember correctly. They did try to address it. Obviously, they brought in Kevin Hayes. They bring in Cody Glass, who I'm still a fan of. I still think he has something to give. Rucker McGroarty's probably going to start in that top 6. Hopefully, he has a big year. Guys like Puyarvi and Puustinen have showed, some potential with this group. But yeah, like you say, it all goes back to the back end. Can they be more consistent? Can they be better? Like Ryan Graves had a disastrous year last year,
Yeah.
and he's making like 4.5 for the next like 5 years. And Tristan Jarry tends to get hurt a lot too, and he hasn't been that consistent, like you said. So I mean, the team also goes as far as Crosby and Letang and Carlson and Malkin can take them. Crosby had an unreal season last year, and he was probably one of the only reasons why they even had a shot at making it, right? So we'll see, man. It's kind of similar challenge, just a lot of huge question marks. Just a lot of question marks with this group.
Yeah, that's really the biggest thing.
7th, I'm assuming you might have the same team here. I got the other Pennsylvania team in Philadelphia.
I also have Philadelphia. So we actually have pretty similar standings, which I'm
yeah,
actually quite happy about, to be honest.
I mean, Philly, they really overachieved last year. They really overachieved. Yes. But they're also adding a lot of youth, man. I mean, Matvei Michkov looks like a stud. He might score like 40 goals this year. And Jet Luchenko made the team, which is shocking.
Yeah. Well, it may be shocking. He's got a lot of upside, and we knew that heading into the draft. I mean, Tundra loves his hardworking, strong, centerman, and that's what Luchenko brings. He's a competitive kid, so we'll see how long he stays. But I mean, you're right. A lot of youth. Michkov, I still think he's going to win the Calder. Like, he's just an unreal player. He had an unreal preseason. Getting all the Flyers fans excited, getting me a little, scared.
Yeah,
is a good word. But like, we'll see with Philly. You have Ristolainen on your team still. It's not good. It's not good. But, their goaltending is also weird.
Bad. It's bad.
Yeah, Is Urson like I feel like the whole Carter Hart thing kind of ruined that goaltending thing for and I don't think he was that good to begin with, but like Urson and Fedotov as your goaltenders. They also have that other Russian guy, I forget his name, but it's going to be weird at that position for Philly. That's their biggest question mark.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
And then 8th place, obviously leaves the Blue Jackets. I hope they have a good year. I really
Me
hope.
too.
I really hope they have a good year. Boo Jenner is apparently going on IR now, so that's their captain.
Mm-hmm.
Going on IR. I really hope they have a big year. I mean, I love guys like Marchenko. I've always been high on. I think Brindley's amazing. Fantilli, Johnson, Chinikov. There's so many talented players here. I just want that franchise to succeed so bad.
Me too. Yeah. After everything,
Yeah.
especially the past couple months, I'm rooting for them. I wanted to put them in the playoffs. I really did, because in my hot takes, I said, you know what? I think this is something we should kind of all be rooting for. I just think that division's too strong right now. On paper, they're not as strong as the rivals, and realistically, I don't think they'll make it, anywhere close to playoffs. Would I love to see them make the playoffs? Absolutely. I would love to see them have a good year.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life moving too quickly got a lot on the mind. Thankfully, there's a resource out there that can help. Therapy can be scary for some, but if you need to try therapy, take it from somebody who has used therapy in the past. It is highly beneficial for your well being. If you're considering therapy, try BetterHelp. BetterHelp is entirely online, making it convenient to access from the comfort of your own home. You can get matched with a licensed therapist with ease. You can also switch therapists at any point with no additional charges. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN.
Yeah.
Hoping for the best with them, honestly.
For sure. All right, off to the Atlantic Division, the other East Division. First place in the Atlantic, I don't think is a shocker. I got the Florida Panthers.
I have them as well.
I mean, when you win the cup, you're gonna be losing a lot of pieces that you can't afford. But I mean, I don't think they needed guys like Tarasenko or Montour anymore. Maki Samoskevich is gonna replace Tarasenko. He looks like a hell of a player. They extended Sam Reinhart. Back end wise, sure they lost Brandon Montour, but I really like Adam Bakos as a low risk, high reward defenseman. I think he'll get a lot of power play time there. They'll use him correctly. I think he's gonna blossom there. And I mean, they still got Bobrovsky and Knight as their goaltending. It's still they're still the best team in the East, in my opinion. Like I would be shocked if they didn't make it back to at least the Eastern Conference Finals. It's still a great team.
Yeah, especially if they have a good year. I mean, on paper, they're like fourth line, especially. Like, I don't really know who Patrick Giles is or whoever, but I mean, even if you have a good season, you just go and get someone at the deadline for dirt cheap, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think they'll be fine. I don't really have any concerns with them, and I do like that Adam Boqvist signing a lot. I mean, they were able to turn Forsling into gold essentially, and they did the same with Mikkola. He had a great playoff, great final. I think he scored in the finals,
like 2 games,
maybe a couple times. Yeah. So if there's anything they can do right, it's develop defensemen, and Boqvist has a lot of talent in this league. There's a reason why he went so high in the draft, and just that core for Florida is just it's too much for that division. It really is. They're pretty great up front. So
yeah. Second, I mean, not much to say there. I mean, it's kind of they're the Cup champions, so
they're easy to put number one.
Yeah,
essentially.
Number 2, they're a great regular season team. That's Toronto, but still, I'm not that sold on them come the playoffs.
No, neither am I. I mean, again, easy team to put number 1, number 2 in the division. Come playoff time, I always have them losing first round because you just never know. Great regular season team, and playoffs, it kind of bites them in the butt a little bit. But they did some good moves in the decor. Like Oliver Ekman-Larsson might be a decent signing. I don't know how much left he's got in him, but we'll see with that. William Nylander, is he back? I know he got hurt. Okay.
He's back.
Well,
Yeah.
at least they got him still. And like Max Domi is a good option, moving forward in their middle six, and they have their core. Like Matthews is their captain now. We'll see. Matthew Nyes, I think, is going to have a breakout year this year. I think he's a great player. I just don't know. It's the Leafs. I mean, Joseph Woll might be pretty good though this
He's
year. As a
good.
starting
I like
goalie,
Woll a
so
lot.
yeah. And Stolars is a good backup option too. I actually quite like that signing. So
Yeah.
I think that'll be a bit more consistent than it has been in previous years, especially with Samsonov in the net. But it's the Leafs. Who knows?
I just honestly their bottom six isn't great, man. I mean,
I'm looking at it now and I'm like,
like
you know,
Yarncrow's okay. Holmberg's fine. Conf is like a 4C. Dewar ideally is like a scratch. Ryan Reeves just shouldn't be in your lineup. Like, it's just, I don't know. And even their back end, I mean, like, they're gonna be playing Simon Benoit every night. They got a lot of defensemen. Holy crap! I'm just looking at NHL.com right now. Like Connor Timmins is like ideally on your third pair, but like, man, I don't know. The makeup of this team is weird.
Yeah, Pacioretty as well. Like he's still on a PTO,
Yeah.
I think. So who knows if he's even on the team?
Nick
Connor
Robertson.
Dewar, Nick Robertson. Do we think Easton Cowan makes this team?
I think he should.
I also think he should, at least for like a 9-game stint. I've heard that like he could come back to London, but I'm not sure. I'm not totally sold on that.
But how much would that help his development though, right? He already tore up the OHL last year.
Yeah, it's a weird spot for prospects like that because you can't send them to the AHL, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to. It was the same thing with Kachuk, like when he played out of the draft. Like he already tore up the OHL like the year prior. Like you could send him back, but he's just gonna get bored, And
yeah,
that's almost worse for a player. So Cowan should make this team, and I think that would make that third line, fourth line a lot better. I don't know if he'll play fourth line, but it'll make the depth a lot better, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. So. But yeah, like great regular season team, but come the playoffs, we know what to expect from them. Third place, this is where I feel like we might have a different team. I got Tampa.
I actually have Tampa as well.
Okay. I'm one of the people that think Tampa actually got better in the offseason. I think I think Gensel might be the better fit at this point, solely because he is a natural winger. I do think, like, just strictly 5v5 wise, I do think Gensel is more impactful, whereas obviously Stamkos has that one-timer from the dot on the power play, but man, like, I think bringing in Gensel to play with Point and Kucherov, that's going to be one of the best first lines in the league.
That is a good line.
They bring in Cam Atkinson for their bottom six. I think defensively they got better too. Like I'd rather have McDonough and JJ Moser than Mikhail Sergachev, honestly. And Vasi's healthy now. He had, I think, hip surgery last season. He came back in like December. Wasn't really the same. He's finally fully healthy. It looks like Connor Geeky's gonna make the opening night lineup. We'll see how that ends up. I just think they got better, and that they'll get a divisional spot. I don't think they're cup favorites like they used to be, but I feel pretty good about Tampa Bay heading into the season.
Yeah, everything you said I pretty much agree with. I also just think they're a bit stronger than some of the teams below them.
Yeah.
That maybe had more poor off seasons, but or you could argue even better off seasons than Tampa. But I think you're right. I think the loss of Stamkos is obviously gonna wear big, just over the season. But like Braden Point's the number one centerman all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jake Gensel is one of the best players 5v5, like you said. Even though it's weird for me to see him in a Tampa uniform, I think he'd be a great player there. There's no question, especially with Kucherov and Point feeding the puck all day long. Like you're laughing. Sergachev is a really good defenseman. I don't know if I would prefer Moser or McDonough ahead of him, but just because I feel like the only reason why he's not as prevalent is because he's kind of been in that Hedman shadow a little bit. Like he's a damn good defenseman, but yeah, you're right. I mean, their D-core still isn't bad. Eric Chernak's still a pretty serviceable defensive defenseman there as well, and Perbix kind of came out of nowhere, and Darren Radich still has had a sort of an upside to him as well, and then you have Vasilevsky in net. So yeah, I think third's a good spot for them.
Yeah, in fourth place, I got the Boston Bruins.
What do
Just
you got?
signed Jeremy Swayman today, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, man, I have them making the playoffs because every year I'm always like, okay, boss, this is the year Boston misses, and then they never freaking miss. So I
Yeah.
have them in the playoffs. Um, but again, like I just really felt like they overachieved last year, and they will get worse just because of the loss of Omar. Corpusalo will not be like Linus Omar. That's a
No,
given,
absolutely not.
right? So you look at their team. They bring in Linus Lindholm. Did they overpay? Yeah, he's still a fine second line center. They bring in Zadorov. Once again, they overpaid, but like
That's huge overpay.
he'll help them out though. But geez, um, you know I'm high on Mason Lohrei. He showed pretty well again in the playoffs against Toronto and Florida. I think he has a lot of upside to him. But like, man, this team is old. They're getting up there in age.
Yeah, absolutely. I also have them fourth, pretty much the same reason. They overachieved last year. They might overachieve again this year. I think they're paying Lindholm and maybe Zadorov to be like the 1 and 2 guy on their forward and defense. Like apart from like McAvoy, obviously,
Yeah.
they'll probably play with McAvoy quite a bit. At least I would think. Maybe that's in their plans. I'm not sure. But they have Brandon Carlo there as well. They're just like I don't know. Boston's kind of weird. We'll see about Matthew Portraw as well. Maybe he'll break out after being injured for so long last year.
Yeah.
Maybe he can like be a sneaky little fit in their center core, make it a little bit stronger down the middle. So, yeah, they have. I don't know. It's Boston. Who knows, man? Who knows? They're just a weird team at this
Weird.
stage. They should do worse, but
They
I don't know,
always
maybe they'll
just
sneak
somehow
in.
make it in.
Yeah, I mean, Swayman's a really good goalie, but we'll see.
Yeah.
This will be like his first full season under his belt too. So we'll see if he can live up to the hype.
Yeah, if he doesn't do that well, Boston fans aren't going to take that well.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Fifth place, not making the playoffs for like the 80th straight year. I got the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, me too.
Oh man,
wow.
they
All right.
looked awful. And I think they played in Czechia. They looked awful against the Devils.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the Devils are just a way better team.
Yeah,
than them, but yeah, they looked awful.
And like they didn't do much this offseason. I mean, like Sam Lafferty, Beck Mallenstein, Ryan McLeod, Jason Zucker, like they're fine players, but like they don't score much. They don't.
I just feel like the decision making of this team as well is just like horrible. They like I had Reimer as being like a sneaky signing for the Sabres. They just put him on waivers. I'm like, you're really banking on Levi and Luukkonen to like rebound. They're good goalies, but like they were bad last year. And I thought Reimer would kind of come in and be the mentor and be the backup to one of those guys. No, we're just gonna throw him on waivers. Yeah, see you later. Like, oh my god. But like they have some young guys that could break out. Yuri Kulik looks like he could be, a player for them in the future. And JJ Paterka might break out this year. And who knows if Tage Thompson breaks back out, right? And I just don't like the moves they made in the offseason either. Like Beck Mallenstein and Ryan McLeod and like Sam Lafferty's fine as well, but like it's not good. I much prefer Matt Savoy being in that lineup, but it is what it is. They're not good.
No.
I feel bad for Rasmus Dahlin because I do believe he's one of like the top 5 defensemen in the league. Like he's unreal, but he's plays in the Sabres. So
yeah, I was gonna bring that up. So that decor is not like that. I mean, okay, specifically that right hand side of the decor is not good. Like Dahlin, Power, and Byram, fantastic defensemen. They're all left shot.
Mm-hmm.
No one on that team can shoot right besides Yoki Haru and like Connor Clifton. Like.
Yeah, so what do you do then? You just get like Dahlin to play on the right side? Can he play the right side? I don't watch Sabres hockey, so I wouldn't know. But I mean, I feel like he's played right side before, like playing. Like I remember watching at the World Juniors. I think he played on the right side. This is like going off years ago now.
Yeah.
But he could be solid enough there. He's good enough probably to play there. Who knows? It's Buffalo.
That's why I was banking on the Sabres to draft a defenseman, but then he went with I think Consta Helenius. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, if they miss the playoffs, if they miss the playoffs, which I think they will, Kevin Adams is getting canned.
Oh, he's gone. He's got you. Like, ugh. Again, the decision making, and like, yeah, it's awful.
Yeah,
it's just awful.
And then my 6th place team, kind of similar, man. I have Ottawa.
Okay.
Oh. Who do you have? Okay, you know what?
I have Montreal.
Okay. All right. So for Ottawa, for me, right? I mean, like, once again, the pieces are there. Like, they have Kachuk, they got Stutzel, they got I said almost said Minto, but no, Pinto. Uh, Josh Norris, when healthy, is a fantastic player. Claude Giroux can still produce. Drake Bafferson's great. Back end wise, I mean, Jake Sanderson's an absolute stud. Um, Artem Zub's great, and they got a great starting goaltender in Linus Omark. I don't know. Like, I didn't like the Travis Green hiring. I didn't.
Mhm.
I don't think he's an NHL level coach. I think he's a good assistant coach. Um, the bottom six is just it's just kind of bad. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's like Noah Gregor and like Zach McEwen. You know, Zach Ostapchuk might have some potential. David Perron's just kind of old at this point. I think they overpaid for Michael Amadio. They gave him like a 3x3. You know, Ridley Gregg is like the one guy in that bottom six I do like. Um, but like that back end, man, like beside like Shabbat's kind of overrated. Bernard Docker hasn't really taken a huge step up in his development. They traded Chikrin for Nick Jensen, who's like 35 years old now. Travis Hammock's
Mhm.
whatever. And like it looks like Yakimchuk might start the season on the team,
Yeah.
but that's rushing him in my opinion.
Me too. He
So
looked good in preseason though, like that goal against the Leafs. But
yeah,
he looked like a different player. But we'll see. Defensemen are also they take longer to develop.
yeah, and like just same thing, man. Just a lot of questions with this lineup. I don't think Olmark has. Put it this way, Olmark's not going to be a 925 goalie like he was in Boston. I see him more as like probably a 913, 914 type of guy in Ottawa. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't think they're completely terrible. I just kind of think they're in that 85, 86 point range.
Hmm.
So that's where I have them.
Montreal, I have 6th. I think they'll take a bit of a step. I think, they had like an injury or two. Oh, Line and Reinbacher being out is gonna kind of hurt their chances. I think of finishing this high because, those are two pretty solid players that could have had breakout years and now they're stuck on injury and Line looks like he'll be back at least by like December-ish or so. Reinbacher's going to be out for like 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's a big hit to their decor. When you look at their decor, it's not the greatest at playing hockey. Like Wayne Hudson might be really good, though. I'm excited to see what he can do. But, Caden Gooley and Mike Matheson, and then that's kind of it. Like, Xhekaj, like, who knows with him? Like, he just kind of goes out there to try and fight people, and it's an odd – there's an odd fellow right there.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing for them is if Newhook and Dak can stay healthy because without them last year, they didn't really have any sentiment apart from Nick Suzuki. So I think that'll be big for them if they can stay healthy. Slavkovsky keeps getting better and better every year. That line looks really good at the top, but their depth I'm not a huge fan of either. I mean, how many years does Brendan Gallagher have left in him, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Christian Dvorak and Josh Anderson, and they have pieces coming. It's just not a very good mix right now. And goaltending too. Montembeault and Primo are fine, but they're really lacking without Price there the last couple of years. It's been very noticeable, obviously, because it's Carey Price. But who knows? I mean, if everything goes okay for them, they'll do better. But I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're anywhere near a playoff team right now. So
yeah, I have Montreal 7th. Just kind of agree with you. Not much to add on. I'm interested to see what Slavkovsky does this season. I wouldn't be surprised if he hits like 70 points. Honestly, I think him, Suzuki, and Caulfield are like one of the best lines in the league last year. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I mean, at some point they do need to take a big step up. Like they've been like bottom 5, bottom 4 in the league for like 4 years now. They gotta make some progress at some point. So yeah, but no, that's a fair ranking. And so who's your 7th place team then?
7th, I have Detroit.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to be good. I think they have good pieces, like Lucas Raymond. They brought in Vladimir Tarasenko. They still have DeBrincat. They still have Larkin. They're more cider. It's just I don't like what they've done in the offseason, like at all. Their decor is kind of hilarious. They put Justin Hall on waivers, thankfully for the Red Wings fans out there. But yeah, I don't like their depth very much. Like Michael Rasmussen's just kind of a depth guy, fourth line guy at this point. I think Joel Veleno really needs to take a step up. They didn't even like Marco Casper isn't even on this team. Yeah, Tyler Mott is on this. Like, it's just a weird team, and their decor sucks.
Oh no, that decor is one of the worst in the league.
It sucks. It's cider. Edvinsson is going to be a good player at some point. I don't think it's going to be this year because he's got to play with friggin' like Jeff Petrie and Oli Mata and Ben Sherratt and Eric Gustafsson and thankfully not Justin Hall. You know what I mean? It's so bad. I don't understand. Like,
and
goaltending. And Cam Talbot is like 50 years old. I don't know. I don't like this team really at all. I like their top line, great. Rest of the team, Patrick Kane as well. Who knows? Just not a good team on paper, in my opinion. It's awful.
That's why I have them 8th. That was also one of my hot takes. I think they're gonna be in lottery contention, man. It's not a good team.
Yeah, it's not at all. They were on a good like kind of trajectory, and then it just kind of all fell apart in the offseason this year.
Yeah, just like, I mean, unless a guy like Marco Kaspar and like Nate Danielson somehow make a jump this season. Actually, I think is Danielson back in the dub? I think he might be.
No, he'll be in the AHL if he doesn't make the Red Wing.
So yeah, like unless like those two guys somehow make a massive improvement to their bottom 6 and can slot in right away, like man, like that bottom 9, well, that bottom 6 specifically is just awful. Besides like Andrew Kopp, who's getting paid like $5.5 million. Like arguably like 3 of those guys should be in the AHL. So, and then like you said, that decor is just. It's something. It's something.
Yeah, it's something, all right.
And then like goaltending, it's like Alex Lyon, the guy who basically carried them near a playoff spot last year. That's your third goalie. Like Talbot's, like you said, is like 37 years old. Husel didn't have a great year last year. Like, man, they're gonna be bad. They're gonna be really bad. Mm-hmm. And judging by your picks, you have Ottawa 8th.
Yeah, I just don't like Ottawa's team, really. Kind of what you mentioned about their decor. It's not good. It's Jake Sanderson and everybody else. But they're like, it's not like Detroit's where it's like laughably bad. It's just, there's just like, I just feel like it's aged and it's at a point with their decor where if Carter Yakimchuk makes his team, there's a chance he could be like one of the top 3 defensemen on that team. That's not good.
Yeah.
And, and who knows about, Ullmark. I think he'll be potentially fine, but this is the same team like when they had Korpisalo. Like he was a good goalie with the Jackets, and then he went to Ottawa, and he was a good enough goalie for Ottawa, but he's a backup now. So, like, I don't know. And they also can't stay healthy. Like Josh Norris is a great player. He just can't stay healthy. And Drake Batherson can't stay healthy. And it's Tim Stützle, Brady Tkachuk, fantastic players. The rest of their team, not huge on. Ridley Grigg's good. I like him. But and I guess Claude Giroux, he's just a little older now, but just up and down this lineup, I don't really like this team really. Yeah. So I don't really have a good enough reason to move them up. I thought about putting Montreal 7th, Detroit 6th, but Detroit's pretty bad as well.
Yeah.
So I got Ottawa down here. Yeah.
And if Otto misses again, that's not going to make Rossi happy because he has that Senators video he's been working on like for 5 years now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He's got a Sabres one going now too. Who knows if that's ever going to come out? He's got 2 on the go.
Yeah. All right. Off to the West. We'll do the Central Division. First place, I got the Dallas Stars. I don't think that's too much of a shocker. One thing I will say about Dallas is that right side is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Dumba, Labushkin, I think Niels Lundqvist, like, come on. Like, really? That's your right side? They're all third-pair defensemen. So, unless you're planning to play one of Harley, Heiskanen, or Lindell on the right-hand side, good luck with that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the rest of the team is still damn good. I mean, Jake Ottinger is still one of the best goalies in the league. That forward core is going to be adding guys like Maverick Bourque into the lineup consistently. Logan Stankoven's going to play a full season. Wyatt Johnson is going to continue to improve. Jason Robertson should bank in 40 goals again. They brought back Duchesne. Jamie Benn and Sagan are still producing. Rupe Hintz is so good. Just a great team. Just a great team.
Yeah, I actually had Colorado first at first, but
Oh.
I've swapped them last minute. I do agree with you. Now that I'm actually looking at the lineups properly, I think Dallas will do just fine. But you are right. That right side is interesting to say the least. But they're an elite team in this league. I mean, when you have Wyatt Johnston there and Rupe Hentz and Jason Robertson and Sagan is still going strong. He hasn't really slowed down. Nero Heiskanen's one of the most underrated defensemen in the league, in my opinion, and Jake Ottinger's a stud. This is a good team. I would just love to see them, go all the way in the playoffs this time.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing with them.
All right. Second place, once again, shouldn't really be that much of a surprise. I do got the Colorado Avalanche. No, Nichushkin is going to hurt them a lot. But there's still some solid pieces. I mean, obviously you have your big guys and McKinnon and Rantanen and Lehkonen. Dren finally played to his potential last year. Ross Colton's still a fine, middle six guy. It's just the rest of that forward core that's just like, oh my gosh. I forgot about Casey Middleset. My bad. Casey Middleset's also good.
Yeah.
But man, that bottom six really needs some work, and I mean they will address it. But man, they have Parker Kelly, Yoel Kiviranta, Logan O'Connor that just got like a 7 or 6 year deal. Miles Wood, they're that bottom six is weak, but I mean when you have such a strong top six in that back end, obviously that includes Makar and Taves and Gerard and Josh Manson and Oliver Shillington. They'll be just fine. I don't think Georgiev is as bad as he was last year, but I don't think he's as good as he was in his first year there. And if worse comes to worse, Eustace Anuin has shown that he can play NHL games, so they're second for that reason. Obviously, Nichushkin will come back at some point. It sounds like Landeskog might actually play this season too.
Yeah.
They'll make some trades, so come the playoffs, it shouldn't look this bad. But I do think that weaker roster will hurt them a little bit to start off the year.
No Brandstrom for them, which I found a little surprising. They just traded him today to Vancouver.
Who just
that might
waived
be a
them.
good fit for Vancouver. So yeah. Tucker Pullman, I mean, who knows if he'll fit into this decor, but it's an interesting move nonetheless. But you're right. They're still a very strong team. They got your McKinnon and Rantanen, and Duran ended up, breaking out a little bit last year. And, even Casey Middleset did as well. So they also signed Ivan.
Yep.
So, I just hope he does well, just for the name's sake.
Oh yeah. For sure. Third place, I'm gonna guess we have the same team here. I got Nashville. There we go. I think they're being overrated. People are calling them cup contenders. I don't think so, but I do think they are one of the better teams in the West now. Obviously, adding Marchessault was great. We talked about Steven Stamkos. Still not a fan of the Brady Shea deal, but that's fine. Obviously Yossi's still a stud. They got Tanner Molendyk listed here, so maybe he cracks the roster. I don't know though. I think that I don't even know if he makes that decor if guys like Fabro and Lazone and Carrier.
No, I'm pretty confident he'll go back down.
Yeah. UC Charles is a top 5, top 3 goalie in the league. Forwards wise, you got Luke Evangelista, obviously London Knight legend. He had a pretty solid year last year. Tommy Novak is super underrated. Ryan O'Reilly is just a horse. And Philip Tomasino still has some potential, so they definitely improved. They will be a better team than last year, but I wouldn't say they're better than teams like Dallas and Colorado and Vancouver and Edmonton. They're not at that level. So I don't see them as Stanley Cup contenders as most people think they are, but they are a good team.
Yeah, pretty much agree with everything there. Can't ignore Roman Josi either, just an unreal defenseman. So
for sure. Fourth place, wild card. I have 2 wild card teams coming out of the Central because we'll talk about the Pacific soon. Maybe a bit of a surprise. I did say it in my hot takes, I think. Maybe I didn't, but I have the Minnesota Wild in 4th place.
Mm.
I really like this team. I love Matt Boldy. I think Joel Eriksson is so underrated. Ryan Hartman too has gone under the radar. He's good for like 50, 60 points a year now. Kirill Kaprizov is a 100-point guy. He is so electrifying on the ice. Just a great player all around. I think Liam Olgren will make a huge impact on this team as a rookie. I do think he makes a lineup. Matt Zuccarello isn't slowing down anytime soon, even though he's like 37 years old. The guy put up unreal numbers the year before. And even on the back end, like Jared Spurgeon's going to be healthy now. He missed some time last year. Brock Faber's an absolute beast. Jonas Brodin's finally getting respect around the league about how good he actually is. And man, I think Jesper Wallsted's going to be the starter by the end of the year. Fleury and Gustafsson didn't do that great last year. I do think they end up moving on from Gustafsson at some point. Wallsted will take his place. And yeah, man, I'm in love with this team. I think they're really good. And I think they'll get even better in the years to come. They got so many young prospects like a Daniel Yurov down there. Zeev Buliam's going to come up in the next few years. And guess what? Their buyouts are also done next year. So, man, I think this team's going to be great in the upcoming years. I do think that this season is the precedent for those years to come. I have them making the wild card. Oh, Nick says 2 minutes. All right, so I'll keep talking about the Wild then. They also got guys like Marek Kuznetsov, who played some NHL games last year, was pretty good in the KHL. They got some nice depth too, and Marcus Foligno, Jakub Trenny, those big burly guys that Minnesota loves to build their identity around. And forgot about Marco Rossi. Marco Rossi too, unreal player. He's gonna be he did miss some time the last few years, I think, because of COVID problems, but he seems to be fully healthy. I just really like this team.
We're good now. Sorry.
Okay, no worries.
All right. You just finished off Minnesota. So 4th place, I have Winnipeg. I still like Winnipeg's team. I think especially the forward core is pretty solid. You still have Mark Scheifele there. You still have Kyle Connor. Who knows about Nikolai Ehlers? If he stays, if he ends up going, if they're bad, I have no idea yet. But for this season right now, he's still a good option. Still a good bet for 50, 60 points on that second line, and their depth isn't too bad either. You still have Alex Iafallo. You still have Nino Niederreiter. Their decor is somewhat questionable. It's like Josh Morrissey's obviously great. But apart from that, like Dylan Sandberg, Neil Pionk, Dylan DeMello, I don't know about those 3 in particular, especially if they play a lot of minutes. Hayden Fleury they brought in as well. Colin Miller's a pretty good defensive defenseman. But you got Connor Hellebuck back there, who is just a stud. And he's not as old as I thought he was either. He's still like relatively young goalie. So, he's in the prime of his career. If they make the playoffs, I don't think they're going to make it too far, but I think they'll have a good season.
Yeah.
And to finish off your point with Minnesota, I have them 5th, so I have them like the 2nd wild card spot. I have 2 wild card teams the same as you, but pretty much everything I agree with. Like Kaprizov's unreal. Rossi's probably going to break out this year. Zuccarello, no sign of slowing down. They have a pretty good forward core. They had Brock Faber, who's just going to continue to get better and better. Brodin and Spurgeon are still very good players as well, and I like their goaltending as well, especially if Fleury can come in and maybe steal a handful of games. So yeah, they're pretty similar teams in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have them a little bit apart, but not by much.
All right, I got the Jets 5th too, so we have the same 2 wildcard teams, just kind of flipped around. But yeah, the Jets are what they are. I mean, we'll see. I'm interested to see how they do. Honestly, I mean, they don't have Rick Bowness anymore. I think it's Scott Arniel who's their new head coach. Bowness obviously love to play that strict defensive system, which obviously really helps Connor Hellebuck. But they just got some interesting young guys. I was a big fan of Nikita Chibrikov in his draft year. I'm excited to see what he does of this upcoming year. I think Brad Lambert's good enough to be on the opening night roster. Cole Perfetti was in Bonus's doghouse. Will he have a bigger role? But end of the day, the team lives and dies by number 37 between the pipes. it's probably going to be the exact same thing this year. And yeah, we'll see what they do. Because I've always been high on the Jets because of that guy. They have the talent to go far, and we'll see if this is the year if they actually do it. Sixth place in the Central. I alluded to this in my hot takes. I think Utah's gonna have a very strong year. I do think they miss out barely, but I do think they're in for a strong year. I think Logan Cooley is so good. He is so good. Dylan Gunfer, I've always been a huge fan of Gunfer, obviously a former Oil King. I think he has 30-40 goal potential, in my opinion. Clayton Keller obviously just got named the captain of that team. Matias Machili's a great young top six option. Even back in, we talked about Sergachev. They brought in John Marino. Sean Dursey has looked really good there. Michael Kesselring has kind of broken out there. And between the pipes, Ingram has shown that he can be a starter in this league. He was great for the first 3 or 4 months of last year. And Carvel Melka is a solid tandem goalie. I still think they're missing a few pieces. I still think they need to buff up that forward core, maybe add another piece to the back end. But they're projecting pretty well. So I have them barely missing.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I have them also in the 6th spot. They have 4 guys who could easily just be breakout contenders. They are a very young team still, but they have some good talent and they made some decent moves. I alluded to Sergachev a little earlier, but I think he'll do great here in a proper top pairing role for the team. And Dursey looked great as well. Ian Cole is still a pretty serviceable defenseman for what he is. But I think they'll just miss out. I think the big thing for Utah as well is that they're out of Arizona, which they don't have that, sort of headspace.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't have the distraction about the ownership, about the arena, just all the storylines about, Arizona last year. And now they kind of have a fresh start for everybody, which is helpful. And yeah, they're a pretty skilled team up front, and Josh Doan looks really good. Dylan Gunther's going to break out probably this year. And, you still got Jack McBain and Barrett Hayton who could take steps up as well. And it's a pretty solid team, but I think they just miss out.
Yeah.
But I like where it's going.
For sure.
I really do.
7th place, going to assume that we might have the same team here again. I got the Blues.
Yeah.
The Blues are just a weird team. Their forward core has some really nice pieces. Their goaltending is pretty good. I just look at that back end and I'm like, oh my god, it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Falk hasn't really been the same guy as he was in Carolina. Nick Leddy's old. Ryan Suter somehow got a contract. He's going to be 40 years old by the end of the season. Colton Parayko is a damn good defenseman. He's just never healthy. And I still think they really overpaid Phil Broberg. I don't...
100%.
I think they're expecting him to fill in for Torrey Krug. I don't really see it. I think he'll be fine in a third pair role to start the year, but they're going to rush him into the top 4. I don't think that's the best idea. And, once again, on the forward side of things are fine. Pavel Buchnevich is a great player. Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas, I think are pretty underrated. They got some nice pieces in Zach Bolduc. Jake Neighbors had a great year. They brought in, some younger, faster guys in Dylan Holloway, Matthew Joseph, Alex Texier. They got Braden Shen. It's just, I don't know. I think their forward core is mediocre. I think their goaltending is a wild card. Can Bennington have the similar type of year as he did last year? Hofer's a good young option. That D-core just sucks. So they're not as good as the 6 teams ahead of them, in all honesty.
So I actually almost had them bottom of the division.
Oh.
It's their depth and their defense. I'm not really big fans of it. And Torrey Krug's going to be out this year, but is he better? Are the Blues better with Torrey Krug, or are they worse without Torrey Krug? It's just kind of hard to say. but that decor is just awful.
Yeah.
Broberg, like you mentioned, just overpaid. I like Holloway as a player.
For
I
sure.
think he'll probably do something with the Blues, especially with a little bit more ice time than he was getting in the Oilers. But yeah, the back end and the depth in the forward core for me is not great.
Yeah. And that leaves obviously the Blackhawks at 8. I mean they added pieces this offseason. Bertuzzi was a solid add. They brought back Teuvo Teravainen. Hall will be healthy this season. They added Ilya Mikheyev. That's kind of whatever. They added veterans in Pat Maroon and TJ Brody and Alec Martinez. They're still going to be a pretty bad team. They're going to be even worse than I think they are now because they sent down guys like Frank Nazar and Kevin Korchinski back to Rockford.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Yeah.
So, it's still going to be a couple more years until the Hawks are considered a playoff team. But, more support for Bedard is good, especially, when they had all those injuries last year, they were literally icing an AHL team.
Yeah.
I think their best first liners last year when everyone was injured was like Jason Dickinson and Joey Anderson. Like, it was not good. It was not good, right? So they needed to bring some more depth, which they did, but they'll still be a bottom 3 team in the league.
Yeah, more support for Bedard is good, and I think I had in my hot takes that Bedard to be a 100-point player, and I still do believe that. He's not the team. He's not he's not going to carry this team yet. And just the team all around isn't strong yet. I mean, they brought in Teravainen, and Taylor Hall's going to be healthy, and Tyler Bertuzzi's in now, and I think that's great for for Bedard, for the top 6 in general. But I just don't know about the rest of their team. Also, if you go on Daily Faceoff, they have Nolan Allen, but they just have like a white shirt. They don't even have the jersey. So I don't know who their 6th defenseman is. It's like Seth Jones and everyone else. Alex Vlasic might be good, but yeah, Nolan Allen is killing me here. I don't know what's going on there. But, yeah, I mean, I think Peter Mrazek's just a weird goalie as well. He's good, but he's not healthy.
Yeah,
and it's just a little inconsistent. So, I had the Blues at the spot. I kind of switched around. I had the Blackhawks here now just because I think they were solid enough in the offseason where they might make an improvement. I don't think they're going to be worse than last year because last year's team was pretty awful. But, I mean, we'll see. I do think Korchinski being down there is quite weird. I think one of the things I saw is that they wanted to kind of have because Lev Chenow's going to be down there, and I think they want them to play together in the AHL just to kind of build some chemistry a little bit, which I guess is fine. But don't stunt Korchinski. You know what I mean? That's that's a defenseman that's played a lot of games already for you in the NHL. So I feel like it's a weird move, but we'll see what their decor shapes up. Maybe it'll make a little more sense as the seasons roll on. But I just find it as a weird move.
For sure. And now to the final division, the Pacific Division. 3 teams. We both have 3 teams making it. In first place, I got the Edmonton Oilers. I see people kind of worried about them. I'm not that worried. They brought in Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner obviously via free agency, so they're already good. Top 6 got even better. Bottom 6, sure, there is some question marks. I like Adam Henrique as a 3C. He was pretty good in the final against Florida. I think Connor Brown won't be as bad as he was last year. I think he's finally healed from that ACL injury. Vasily Podkolzin is a decent bet to take on. He has skill. He has a good shot. He is a bigger body. He just needs to put it all together. So there is some potential there. Obviously, it isn't ideal for Corey Perry and Derek Ryan to be in your lineup every single night because they're 40 years old. But I wouldn't be surprised if Matthew Savoy does take the Logan Stankoven route where he spends the first 3/4 of the season in the AHL and then they bring him up for the playoffs and stretch driving. He looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm so excited for Matthew Savoy. And even back in, I think Ty Emberson's better than Cody Ceci. He was pretty good for the Sharks last year. He played 1 game with Darnell Nurse this preseason, and that was by far the best game I've seen Darnell Nurse play. So maybe Ty Emberson is the answer. Evan Bouchard and Matthias Ekholm are one of the best defenseman pairs in the league. And Brett Kulak is a pretty solid third pair guy. And like I get the concerns of Stuart Skinner. He's average, but that's all the Oilers need. I mean, he was a 905 last year, and he almost had 50 wins. He was at like a 903 in the playoffs, and they were one goal, one save away from winning the cup. So I get the concerns, but the reality is the Oilers are going to be a great regular season team again. I would argue they got better, and they'll add at the deadline to address any concerns they have with the rest of their lineup. So I think they finished first place.
Yeah, I have them first as well, and they had a good offseason, and still have some good depth. Like guys last year, and this is what I mean about Bedard, like going back to the Blackhawks, that Bedard isn't the whole team. And you can look at McDavid and be like, well, he's not necessarily the whole team either. And we saw that in the playoffs. We saw Zach Hyman break out. Yep. We saw Matthias Janmark kind of break out a little bit. He scored tons of goals, or maybe not tons of goals, but tons of important goals for Edmonton down the stretch, right? And I think you're right. I don't think Brown's going to be as bad as he was last year, and Podkolzin might be a decent bet. I think he's more similar to like when you guys had Klim Kostin.
Yeah.
Jeff Skinner is a good bet as well. I actually really like that signing, and their decor is pretty phenomenal for what it is. So, and sometimes that's all you need when you have Stuart Skinner in the back, who's maybe not particularly elite, but he was good last year. So, yeah, I like their team as a whole. I think they'll finish first. I see a lot of. I think they're like the favorite to win the cup. I would say, but
they should.
I don't know if I would have them winning the cup right now, but they're definitely up there.
Yeah.
They're a damn good team.
Second place, probably no surprise here. I got the Canucks.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, they added Jake DeBrusk in the offseason. Danton Heinen was a solid middle six guy. Atu Ratu's going to probably make the team. Kiefer Sherwood had a good year. Daniel Sprong was an unreal pickup, and he's making like less than league min. It's a great top 12. Like, defensively, I mean, there's concerns. I mean, Quinn Hughes is a top three defenseman in the league by far. Hronek had a good year there. It's just the rest of that decor I'm kind of have a question with. Carson Soucy's good. But then their bottom three are Tyler Myers, Vincent Darnay, and Derek Forbort. Three like tall guys that can't really move the puck that great. So
unless they inject Brandstrom in that bottom three, then it gets a little better.
Yeah, right? For sure. And then goaltending. I mean, Thatcher Demko's gonna miss the first month of the year. They brought in Kevin Lankinen to split the net with Archer Shilovs. Shilovs looked pretty good against the Oilers in the playoffs. I'm pretty high on him. I think he'll be good enough for the Canucks to stay afloat during regular season. But I mean, it's a great team. I just think that decor is just they gotta do something there, and obviously no Thatcher Demko does hurt a
That'll
bit.
Hurt. Yeah.
But they're still a great team. They're second place. All right.
Yeah, pretty much agree with everything there. I guess I'll say my third. Maybe we'll have the same team. This division just isn't the greatest division either. No. Pacific is just not good. But I have Vegas at 3. They're still a pretty strong team. Like Jack Eichel is already doing Jack Eichel things in preseason. Like he looks really good. They have Ivan Barbashev and Mark Stone still on this team, so they're top 6. And Thomas Hertl is going to play a full year this year as well. So their top 6, their center core is pretty much set, pretty much the same as it has been the last couple seasons. They brought in Alex Holtz, which is a really good bet. I think he's got a ton of potential still in this league, and their bottom line isn't bad either. You have Brett Howland, you have Zach Aston-Reese, and Keegan Kolesar, who are just 3 shutdown guys. It's almost all you can ask for your fourth line if you're rolling the 3 lines, that is. And then their decor, like they still have Shea Theodore, who's one of the top, offensive defensemen you could ask for, and their bottom 4 defensemen, Hanifin, Haig, Whitecloud, McNabb, is a great core, and Pietrangelo playing, minutes as well for them, just kind of a minute muncher. And Aiden Hill came in last year and was a really good goalie for them, and they have Samsonov as a backup now, which I think could be a decent tandem. I think Samsonov's a fine goalie. Obviously last year was pretty inconsistent. He got sent down at one point, but for that tandem, I do like it quite a bit. So I think them and Vancouver are pretty close. But you look at Vancouver and they have like Jake DeBrusk and Daniel Sprong and these names they added, just a lot more firepower up front. But I think they're both great teams. I just think Vegas just a little bit lower for me.
Don't forget Dorofeyev and Brandon Brisson.
Yes.
two young guys that should be in the lineup. Like, you know, they're still a good team, and at the deadline they're gonna get someone stupid probably. Like, last year they got, like you said, Hurdle and Hannafin and Manfa, and I don't know, that was crazy. So they're gonna probably go in big again, but to start the season, I mean, they're still a really good team. Just definitely not as stronger as years past. But that's what happens when you win and you have success. It's hard to continue having those strong teams, but it's still, for the most part, a pretty good team. Fourth place, obviously, we have missing the playoffs. I got the LA Kings.
I have the LA Kings also.
All right. Man, they really rushed to rebuild. It's just like it's just mediocre, their roster.
Yeah, 100%.
I love Quentin Byfield. He's a hell of a player. Kevin Fiala is great. Adrian Kempe is good. That's about it for the forward core. To be honest, like, Dano is kind of like not really that true 2C anymore. He's kind of a 3C. Kopitar is going to regress at some point. Right? He had an unreal year last year. I don't think he repeats that. They never really gave Arthur Kaliev a shot in their top 6, which surprises me because he is super talented.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the consistency isn't there, but he's really good. Alex Turcotte, huge wild card. He needs to stay healthy. Akil Thomas came in last year, looked pretty good. Scratched him for the playoffs. And then, like, the rest of the team is just like, you have your Tanner Jeannot, who, aren't great. Warren Fogel's too inconsistent. Trevor Moore had like a 30-goal year last year. He doesn't really repeat that, in my opinion. And then, the back end was looking okay entering the year, but now they lost Drew Doughty for a few months.
Yeah.
So now you're banking on Brandt Clark on your right side playing 20 minutes a night when he hasn't really played that much in the NHL. Like, there's so many question marks. And then in net, it's still pretty bad. Kemper's not the same guy as he was even 2 years ago. So, man, we'll see what happens, but I think they're destined for like an 85, 86, 87 point season.
Yeah, pretty mediocre season. I pretty much agree with everything there. Their back end's not good without Doughty. Doughty's kind of the main guy, and now he's out for a few months, like you mentioned. So, who knows with Brandt Clark? He's a great defenseman. Yeah. He will be a great defenseman for the Kings. It's kind of the same thing as Edvinsson, just with everyone around him. I don't know if it'll be this year.
Mm-hmm. All right, 5th place. Another team that's destined for mediocrity. I got Seattle.
I also have Seattle. We have like very similar divisions.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, like, listen, I like Matty Beniers a lot, and I do like Shane Wright a lot. When I look at them, though, I don't see a true 1C. I think they're both high-end 2Cs, which are great players, but I don't think they have that game breaker.
Yeah, they're definitely paying Beniers to be that 1C, though. I feel like they pay him long term.
Yeah. But the rest of your line, I'm like, the Chandler Stevenson signing still, like, confuses me. Like, 7 years, $6 million for a guy that's not really, a guy that can carry his own line. He's more of a complimentary guy. And then, like, did they really need to bring in Brandon Montour on a 7x7? I don't think so. Joey Delcourt had an unreal year last year. We'll see if he repeats that. Philip Grubauer is so hot or cold. It's just like, there's a lot of good players here. But once again, they're missing that game breaker. And, like, Eberle's kind of up there in age. Gord's kind of up there in age. Schwartz is kind of up there in age. They don't have a true first liner. And that's just the fact of it. And once again, the question's in goal. So they're 6th for me. Or sorry, 5th.
Yeah.
They're 5th.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much agreed. They have decent pieces there. They have a lot of offense. Guys that maybe could break out, like Shane Wright could play in the NHL this year and have a decent rookie season. And, their depth isn't even like terribly bad either. Like, they have good players here. But like you mentioned, they don't have that game breaking piece on that team, and their goaltending is a pretty big question mark in my opinion. I mean, like you mentioned, Grubauer is like really good one year, not so great the next year, or he has a stretch where he's really good, and then has a stretch where he's really bad. You never really know what you're getting with that. So, yeah, fifth for me for sure.
Yeah. Sixth place, I got the Ducks.
Oh, I have the Flames.
Okay, all right, some change. So, I mean, I think kind of similar to what I brought up when we talked about Montreal. At some point, the Ducks need to make progress here. Right, they've been bad
Yeah.
for way too long. Cutter Gauthier is gonna make his rookie debut this year. I think Mason McTavish is in line for a great year. Frank Virgiano, I think maybe not a 35, 36 goal scorer like he was last year or whatever it was, but I still think that he's a solid top six piece. I think Troy Terry is underrated in this league. Leo Carlson, obviously, just a great player. They added a guy in Robbie Fabry who's a solid middle six contributor. Back end wise, I mean, Pavel Yukov's great. Owen Zellweger's great. Jackson Lacombe, maybe he takes a bit of a step up. Rako Gudis, who's their captain. Cam Fowler, still a solid contributor on your second pair. They brought in Brian Dumoulin. Lucas Dossel probably, I'm going to assume, will be the starter by the end of the year. My guess is that Gibson is traded at some point.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. He's been in rumors like for 5 years now. The problem I have with this team, like I don't see a spot for Zegras anymore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when we talk like 4 or 5 years ago when Zegras was drafted, he was the future of the Anaheim Ducks. But now they brought in these like bigger bodied centers, like a Mason McTavish, like we mentioned, and Cutter Gauthier and Leo Carlson, and it's just like Zegras doesn't fit the makeup of the team anymore. He doesn't.
No, I have to agree. And like, well, I think he could bounce back this year. He's a very weird player. Like,
Yeah.
For like a season and a half, he was like the savior of the franchise and was going to be this, really great centerman for a long time. Getzlav had retired and Zegras came up, but it's not looking like that right now. And he's also in trade rumors. And you mentioned it. I mean, and they just drafted Beckett Seneke third overall.
That too,
like,
yes.
Yeah, so like, it's a weird position for Zegras, and maybe for Troy Terry, but I think Terry actually has a spot in this roster. Like Zegras barely played last year, and he didn't play very well when he was in that lineup. So, yeah, they're going to be weird. Sixth, I have Calgary. Now, I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I think sixth in the division doesn't really do it justice. They're just not very good. I mean, like, they're trying to like rebuild their back end, and they have some decent pieces there. Like Uyghur and Anderson are still great defensemen, but they just signed Tyson Barrie, and you have Jake Bean, who maybe can take a step. Like, he's not bad for a bottom pair, but like Kevin Ball and Miranov looked really good for the Flames.
Yeah.
But like, how many depth defensemen could you possibly have on your team, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot. And Dustin Wolf, I'm banking he'll have a good season, but goalies are just weird as they are, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I got Calgary 7th, kind of what you said. I kind of want to look at their forward side of things. They just placed Jacob Pelche on waivers, who I would be shocked isn't claimed. Me
too, yeah.
I'm gonna assume he's going to Montreal. It makes all the sense in the world, but they have guys like Hanzik, who right now looks like is making the team out of camp. Martin Pospisil had a decent year last year. I can't talk. Igor Sharangovich, my bad, had like a 30-goal year last year. Does he repeat that? Maybe. Matthew Coronado needs to make a step up in his progression. He started the year last year, got sent down, lit up the AHL, came back up, and didn't really make that big of an impact. And yeah, like you said, they're destined to be pretty bad this year. That's obviously their goal. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Calgary finished ahead of Anaheim. I can see those two teams swapping, but yeah, and you know what? They might even trade Anderson this offseason too, so that back end might look even worse.
Yeah, who knows, man.
Yeah, but yeah, they're gonna be pretty bad, which isn't too much of a shocker. Who's your 7th place team?
So seventh, I had the Ducks.
Okay.
So pretty much the same reasons that you had, but like they will be a good team at some point. Like their prospects are loaded. They're a young team. Robbie Fabry's actually, I think, a sneaky good signing for them. Frank Vetrano as well, but it looks like he could get traded. There's just a lot of question marks around this team. I don't think they're quite there yet, and a lot of their core are just kind of getting old. So, Radko Gudas as the captain is also something, isn't it? Like that's just so interesting. It's
weird.
awesome. But
Yeah.
yeah, Dosta will probably be the starter, if not now. I think he could be the starter now for sure. But it's a big question mark kind of everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But like they have good pieces there. Like I think Gauthier will have a good first year. McTavish is going to break out. And like we mentioned before, who knows about Trevor Zegras? But if you can have a good year, then that just adds some more scoring, and that we're used to from him. So
we'll see what happens with that front.
Mm-hmm.
And breaking news. Niels Hoglander has extended, so there we go.
I did see that.
That just came through right now. I just got the notification.
Oh, nice.
All right, 8th place, process of elimination, and I mean, not too much of a surprise. It will be the San Jose Sharks. Great future. Don't get me wrong. They got an unreal future. I mean, obviously Macklin Celebrini entering his rookie year. Also Will Smith entering his rookie year. I think William Eklund is so good. I had him first overall in 2021 over Owen Power. But yeah, it's still a pretty bad team despite them bringing in Toffoli and Venberg. On the back end, they brought in Cody Ceci. Shakir Mukulanduan might make the team. It looks like Jack Thompson. I know that's a guy Ryan's pretty high on. Henry Thrun looked okay in spurts last year. Jake Wallman was a good trade. But yeah, it's still a pretty bad team. I still think they're like 32nd, 31st in the league, but progress is being made in San Jose.
Yeah, I can't help but agree with pretty much everything there. They got some good pieces, but for right now, it's not gonna be too good. So, but Will Smith and Celebrini, I think, will do fine in their first year. I think there's gonna be no concerns there. I just the rest of the team just isn't great, really. So it's just kind of like fringe guys from other teams, right? Like Luke Kunin, Ty Dellandrea, Barclay Goodrow in their bottom six, and Costin and Nico Sturm and Alex Wenberg. It's just it's a lot of just meh.
Yeah.
So, but Jake Wallman might be a good little trade for them. Like he's a sneaky good defenseman, right? So
yeah,
a lot of question marks.
And that's it for our predictions. We've been going at it for like an hour and 20, which shocks me. Okay, that went fast. Yeah, it should be a fun season. I'm excited for the season. The Cup final still kind of hurts, so just please, can the Oilers just please
have you watched the?
I'm not watching that documentary.
I haven't watched it either. I just want to know if you watched it.
I've heard things about the last 2 episodes. I'm like, yeah, I'm not tuning in. Unless I'm not tuning in,
you
right?
You can watch like the Kachuk stuff and the Leaf stuff too.
Yeah.
At least there's that.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna watch the finals unless they actually win the thing. Then I'll watch it because then it'll hurt less. But
yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys for watching this episode of the Tundra Cast. Probably have a few more episodes sometime this month. I know you and Ryan should have a mock draft at some point
soon. I've been kind of slacking on my rankings. I haven't put any out yet, apart from like just after the draft. But yeah, hopefully soon we'll try to coordinate something and chat for 3 hours about just guesses at the end of the day. So be fun.
Yeah, and give us your opinions on our predictions. What are your guys' predictions? I mean, judging from our predictions, the league has basically stayed the exact same. I think the only 2 new playoff teams we have in are Minnesota and New Jersey, so not a lot of parity, but that's the best thing about the NHL season. You don't know what's gonna happen, So once again, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time.